get that vest?
Yeah, this is the limited edition Echo Unlimited. Yeah, there's a picture of a bear on it.
Okay, I think I have the same one.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we got the same vest.
This is just a duplicate then.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to episode 4.
Yeah, I think it's the 4th one.
Episode 4, the questioning hour.
Yeah.
I'm Max Misdirection, Freak Mode Media.
I'm Andrew Potter.
We're here to question things.
In my backyard with our mascot, just to keep things consistent.
We got a kayak and Nixon back there.
And
We got a shrub.
Yeah, we have a plant.
So, because we're not, we're not as funny as some Netflix comedian, right? So instead of between two ferns, it's a fern between two humans. So we're just improvising with what we have. We don't have the big budget, we don't have the corporate sponsorship, so
yeah,
we're just gonna do what we can.
I do like that name.
Between two ferns?
Yeah. Yeah, I am pretty excited about naming something the Old Lady Committee.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. But
it's pretty, it's been done, right? I mean, the Bitter Old Lady Brigade, right?
Oh, shit. I didn't even think about that.
I mean, we can still do it, but, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that is named after old women, because old women are so crotchety.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So useless. You ever met an old woman, you're just like, that's a useless human being right there. That is a bag of bones right there.
Well, speaking of vests. Oh, shit. Oh, that's where I got my vest from.
A bag of bones?
Oh. We're cutting that one out. Yeah, speaking of older ladies, pretty good weekend.
Really?
Yeah. For everyone that doesn't know, you already know a little bit, but hung out with a girl this weekend.
Wow.
And, as things go, things went pretty well a couple of times. And so I go to the bathroom, and it's one of those new dual flush toilets or whatever, where you can go.
Button? I don't.
Well, no, it's still like a handle operating system or whatever. But I mean, things did happen to where I had to open up the tank to investigate how to solve this problem. So I flushed once or whatever, and it's straight out of a movie. What's that, Meet the Parents or whatever?
I was gonna say Dumb and Dumber.
Oh yeah.
Where he blows up the toilet and I hope you're not using the toilet. It doesn't flush.
Yeah.
Oh God.
So things progressively get worse, and then I was able to flush at least once, but there's still evidence that something happened. That just wasn't a normal pee, and and so I open it up, and I pride myself on knowing some decent things when it comes to toilets, and it's this new French shit.
Oh,
it's just a dual flush thing, and I had to look it up later on the phone, and but that was the morning after, so we were both a little hungover, and so instead of just trying to hide it, I was like, look, I fucked up your toilet. I'm sorry. She said it was okay. So.
What is she gonna say?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, time will tell, right?
It's really not okay. I can't believe you did that. You gotta go in there and fix it right now. Yeah. Put on your plumber's belt.
Yeah.
Put on your hat. Get in there and be Plummet Bob.
I offered to go to Home Depot, but it was 24 hours after the fact or whatever. I should have offered immediately. But she said it was okay, and she got her landlord or whatever on it.
You can just force flush it by pouring a gallon of water.
Yeah, right.
In it, and then opening the valve. That.
So that was the issue. So it was this dual flush system where you can't manually just open up the flap. It's this cylinder basically thing where whatever is creating the suction is enclosed in this cylinder thing. Yeah. So I thought it would be an easy flush. No pun intended, but
yeah, toilets are one of those prime examples of how far we've come as a species and how far we have to fall, and just the rapid decline. Because they cracked the code on that 100 years ago?
Yeah.
They're here's how you do it. You make a ceramic structure. It's in the shape roughly of a chair.
Right.
It could be white or black.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have a tank behind here, it connects to a hole in the ground.
Right, the thing fills with water, and then
it-
there's a piece of rubber
Right.
that should just pull up with a chain.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But no, we've got to fucking...
We gotta
enclose
French
that
this shit up, you know. It can't be a manual flush. It's gotta be a la manual la flashula.
Yeah, and we can't shit on the French too much, too.
She
is
can.
like, mostly French.
Is she? Is that why she had a French toilet?
I guess so. I don't know. I don't know. There was a lot of weird things that she said. Like, I walked into her other bathroom, and it was, like, dressed up with just, like, Harry Potter stuff. And I was like, oh, shit, here we go again. Like, it seems like the only type of girl that I can land is sort of like a quasi-lesbian, sort of just Harry Potter fan, because of my last name. So I just leaned into it, and I was like, fuck, Sirius Black, my uncle's in here, or whatever.
Avada Kedavra,
Right.
Fetus Deletus.
Yeah. And there was, like, a witch hat or
Homo
whatever.
erectus.
Yeah. 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 There was a witch hat over the toilet, which was pretty funny. But, yeah.
It's a little unsanitary. You think it was like the sorting hat, or
I think so, yeah.
do you think she puts it on when she goes to the bathroom?
I don't know. I don't know. Well, my point was that she claimed that somebody else, like, did the decorating for the house.
She owns the unit, or
She's renting the unit.
See, and that's what doesn't make sense. She's French. She has a French toilet, but she doesn't own the unit. So
Something doesn't add up.
did she request a French toilet? What did she do? I mean, it's got to be a couple $100 for that toilet.
Yeah. And why was just the bathroom decorated with Harry Potter things, but everything else in the house was her artwork and stuff?
Yeah, that's a very common thing, though. The Harry Potter bathroom is a very common thing.
Is it?
It is. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
I've
that.
seen it done many times before. I don't know why.
Oh.
There's probably a whole subreddit or TikTok page or something.
I mean, it's cool. I have nothing against the Harry Potter bathroom.
I mean,
It's
how deep did it go? Are we talking wallpaper?
Yep, wallpaper dressed up as like bookshelves and yeah.
It's funny how they like the aesthetics of books, but they don't like to read books. You notice that?
What do you mean?
I mean, what was the last book you read that you asked for that?
No, actually.
They like the concept of Hermione Granger and Harry Potter hanging out in a library and reading books and consulting tomes, but they don't read books. They read the first page of Google search, and if it's not on the first page, it doesn't exist.
Oh shit! I don't want to say this, or else I'm gonna have to edit this entire thing out. But I mean, like, yeah, we did run into a conflict on. It seems that her. I don't know. Political opinion sort of comes down to CNN headlines. Speaking of, okay, let's pivot quickly. But I mean, yeah, I was at the gym. Okay, so as we stand right now, and I don't know when this video is going to come out. It could be a couple weeks or maybe a couple days. But the guy that killed the CEO of the insurance company. Have you heard about this?
Yeah. I saw a headline. I haven't dug into it, so you have to illuminate me.
All right, so I'm at the gym. And this goes back to the comment that one guy made at the Matt's party about, like, fuck everybody that watches Fox News. Do you remember that?
Yeah. I
Okay.
remember something along those lines.
All right, so everybody knows that CNN is saying there's no reason that this guy killed the insurance CEO. And then I, quickly go over to the Fox TV at the gym this morning. And it's just like, yeah, everybody knows he's the CEO of an insurance company. Like, it's pretty fucking obvious why this guy
would you not kill him? Yeah,
killed.
Insurance sucks. It's a literal scam.
So the latest development as we stand, there was a briefcase full of Monopoly money, which, like, pretty much says what the motive was, you know.
Just to make a clown of him, or
Well, I mean,
take down the economy? I mean, what's going on?
the motive was pretty clear. I mean, it's just this guy is evil and, like, a CEO of an insurance company. And,
So I'm gonna blast him.
yeah.
I heard that he did some real Riddler shit, and he had inscriptions and riddles or poems of some sort on his bullets, and police were, like, recovering them, reading his bullets and piecing together his motives or something. Is that
Really?
true, or is that?
I don't know. I mean,
See, that's the thing about
I've
these
never heard
stories. You
anything
check
about-
25 different news outlets, you get like
Right.
25 different, like, pieces of a story.
Mm.
But it was funny because I did see, so as is so typical in the 2020s, I did not see the actual story, but I did see somebody's knee-jerk reaction to it on the internet, which was great. One of those faceless meta accounts with like 25 followers, and he's just lighting up. He's like, what kind of piece of shit do you have to be to kill a CEO? You think you're justified to kill a CEO? I hope they hang this guy up by his balls. I hope they kill his whole family. I'm like, what?
Holy shit.
And again, if it was a normal person, no one would care. I mean, a normal person is shot every minute of every day.
Right.
There are so many gunslings in the United States, in the whole world. Every single minute of every day, somebody is shot. But then it's the CEO, and it's got to be on the news, you know. Mm-hmm. And he did the theatrics to help it get on the news, I guess. But he's still nowhere near Kaczynski. You know?
Right. Yeah.
He's not a Kaczynski, but
not that badass.
He's a Kaczynski like.
We'll see where it goes, but he's climbing the ladder in my book, so he's getting some credit.
Well, what does he look like? Do we have a mugshot on this dude?
I don't know. He's like in a hoodie, so it's hard to tell. But I mean, there's a jawline that's pretty clear.
What, was he caught? He hasn't been caught.
No, yeah, it's like the 6th day. They're still looking for the guy.
Oh shit! So he's gonna get away with it.
Yeah, he's made it this far. I mean, he's probably in Canada by now. Where did it happen? New York? It's pretty close to the border.
I don't know. I'm not seeing any pictures on him. I see a picture of the dude he shot. Oh man, this AI edited image of him and his buck teeth.
Yeah, I feel really conflicted because he seems like a really nice guy that I would pick up for Lyft.
What are you? He looks like a demon, bro.
I would totally like have a conversation with that guy if he was in my backseat.
Oh yeah, the CEO of United Healthcare. Well, that's one of the most corrupt. They rob millions of dollars from the government and people every day. I mean,
yeah, but CNN, can't figure out why this guy was murdered.
There's just no motive.
Yeah.
You can't. Well, and again, I remember I mentioned the lizard brain and the human brain, right? Or the reptile brain and the primate brain, whatever you want to call it. Left brain is just a hotbed of lies, and it's always trying to come up with some reason for some bullshit. The right brain is very logical to a fault.
Really, I thought that's where all the imaginative stuff happened. But go ahead.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
And the left brain interprets the imaginative stuff.
Okay.
But the right brain is going to decide way before the left brain. You hear about this case and you say, yeah, it's a CEO. Right brain is just like immediately, yeah, you shot him because he's a CEO. Mm-hmm. Then the left brain has to come in and confuse things like, well, maybe there's more play. Maybe he was a transient. Maybe he was on fentanyl. Maybe he kindly asked him for, a sandwich and the CEO spat in his face. We just don't know. We have no idea. It's like, no, he killed him because he's CEO. He's a very recognizable person. He runs one of the most corrupt organizations in the entire country.
Right.
And again, this is one of those things. You have to be careful when you say, oh, I just wish this person would drop dead.
Right.
Oh, man, it would be great if someone shot this person. I mean, I think everybody said it.
Yeah.
Maybe not exactly that, but, oh, what if this person got in a car crash? You got to be careful what you wish for, because one of these days it could really happen, But yeah. I'm sure millions of people have been denied coverage by United Healthcare, and they said to themselves, boy, I would love it if somebody just found that guy and shot him on the street. And now look where we are. And, hey, your wishes have power. They really do. You wish fervently enough for something, you may just get it.
Yeah. By no means am I celebrating this guy that killed, but I mean, like.
Well, nobody wants to get gunned down in the street. I mean, he had a family and blah, 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 We're civilized. We don't gun people down in the street. Although the U.S. government guns people down in the street every single day, too, with no trial. And they also imprison people for life with no trial and no real reason to have them there, and then they torture them and rape them for centuries and decades. But
it's incredible, like, what we deem acceptable, you know what I mean? Like, how many degrees of separation of murder, will we allow? Right. And insurance is that metric, you know what I mean? It's just like the degree of a financial situation that allows someone to just die because they don't have enough money, which, you know what I mean, could be considered murder, you know what I mean?
It could. You have the resources right there. If somebody came to my door and they're bleeding out, and I have hella bandages in my closet,
right,
and I'm just like, ooh, sorry, brother, I don't think you got the money to pay for it.
Yeah.
That family could hella hit me with a civil suit. They could hit me with a civil suit and say, hey, you had bandages. You had sutures. You have medical training. You could have saved his life. Why didn't you do it? Over some money? fucking money. You had the resources.
Right.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You need to clear the books when the shit is right there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and all the money is imaginary. That's why I have the monopoly money, right? Because the money is imaginary. There's like maybe $1 trillion, $2 trillion actual cash tops, right? And then like hundreds of trillions of dollars in imaginary monopoly money circulating in the internet, which is why they're trying to make it harder to get and use cash, because they don't want people realizing like, hey, this is actually more valuable than we make it seem to be, because there's actually not nearly as much of it as you might think there is. Hence the monopoly money. I mean, you know, you think about a hospital that's denying someone treatment. Oh, well, you know, the books won't clear. The money is imaginary. It's made up. They just print it on demand. Mm-hmm. And when they tax you, it's a common misconception that, like, they spend the money back on something else. The whole purpose of taxation, their whole stated purpose is that it's to reduce inflation. So they take the money. First, they spend it on a few things they want. Then they send it, and they fucking burn it.
Yeah.
They throw it in a furnace, and they burn it, and they count the money they burn. Like, oh, we just burned another $1 billion.
Right.
You know, and then they print more.
Yeah.
Right, because somehow it helps with interest rates. I would never pretend to know. I'm not a reptilian human in a man's skin suit. You know, so I don't know what sense it makes. Right?
Where were you on Friday night or whatever? I wish you could articulate that to the girl that I hung out with.
When was I on Friday night?
Yeah, because I mean, she hates Trump or whatever, I mean, so her zodiac is Cancer or whatever. So she was like nice and considerate. Just trying to figure out why I voted for Trump, and I made the argument that is it the FDA? Which one prints money? The Federal Reserve. Okay. The Federal Reserve. And I was like,
you're making us look stupid.
Yeah.
They're going to know we don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, the Fed. Printing money and stuff like that. So I made the argument that, you know what I mean, Trump wants to take that out of the hands of, those people that are basically just printing money, right, ultimately. And that was one of his sales pitch that got me, or whatever. That and the war thing, whatever. But whatever I said seemed to work, so. But I do wish I could articulate it the way you just did.
I often find that the more intransient and the more curt you are with people, the less they can question you. Like, if you really don't want to be questioned, you just kind of fire it off. I mean, people don't ask me about that, but if they did, if they're like, hey, if you're a Trump voter, why did you do it? I would just say, well, because why would we vote for some random woman who was a DA? Like, first, a woman. Second, a total nobody. Third, a DA who imprisoned like 5 million people in San Francisco over minor drug charges. And then she went on the campaign trail. She's like, I'm not going to lie. I smoked a little pot. And I listened to Tupac. She has that Mr. Krabs laugh. Like, who would vote for that? I mean, did you just turn your brain off when you went in to vote? Or how do you watch that and be like, there it is. There it is. There's the next commander-in-chief. You understand that the president, we don't have a prime minister. We don't have a king. Right? We have a commander-in-chief. The commander-in-chief is your commander. He can issue you an order to go to battle. You're a privateer in the service of the U.S. government. He can totally give you a legal command. Like, he is your boss. You know what I mean? Why would I want that person as my boss? You know, what part of that is appealing? You're asking me what part of it I don't like. I ask you what part of it you do like.
Yeah.
You know, I understand that she's blue, and that's the party of civility, and they're better people, and they do more programs. I understand all that. Right, for democracy.
Yeah.
Right. Even though we're a republic, you know, we're not even really a republic. We're really just like a corporation of bandits.
Right.
But I understand the party lines thing. I understand that they have reputations, and the Democratic Party gives way more to low end, really to everybody, to borderline everyone. They give more stuff. Like, there's no question. So why did they pick the worst possible human?
Yeah.
Why not run Hillary again? Hillary was relatively close. I mean, Hillary is an awful human. She's easily as bad as Trump. She's probably 2 or 3 times worse. But she's pretty popular. Why not run her again? But instead, no. It's got to be Kamala Harris. Why?
Yeah.
Why not Bernie Sanders? Why not Ocasio-Cortez?
Because of joy, Nick.
Why not Ilhan Omar?
Because
There's
people
so
wouldn't be
many
happy.
women who are more popular.
Yeah.
So many women within that party with the same politics, the same purview, that are more popular. Why did they run that woman? I'll tell you why. They did not want the Democrats to win. They broker this shit. It's all fixed. It's all fixed. They're like, hey, I know exactly what will make sure they don't win. Here you go.
Yeah, I do question how swift Donald Trump got into office sometimes, occasionally. Not to
Talking
give
about
any
his
credit.
first term or his second term or what?
All of it. Not to give credit to the whole like Project 2025 conspiracy theory, but sometimes, occasionally, I'll dabble a little bit. I'll consider.
Well, break down
Democrats
Project
are talking
2025 for me, because people keep.
So I mean, like
It doesn't show up in my feed. I'll tell you
Okay.
that. It just does not appear. Like
it did for like a little bit, but I think it's sort of diminished and faded out. But ultimately, the idea is that Donald Trump is going to murder all the Democrats, basically. Yeah, and just like kill them all. And yeah,
I'm gonna go ahead and say it seems a little unlikely, but
right. Yeah,
because what I heard, somebody did talk to me about it once. He gave me a pamphlet, and he said, if you support the gay community, you need to spread awareness about Project 2025,
right?
Because he's gonna round up and kill the gays.
Yeah.
So every other time I hear about it, it's
you
a
didn't know
different
that?
story.
Yeah.
He's gonna kill the gays.
Yeah.
He's gonna kill Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna send all the Mexicans back.
Right.
Let me just point this out.
Because he's fully capable, and the United States government is fully backing Donald Trump and not giving him any problems whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That whatever he wants to do, they'll just let it sail through.
Right.
They're not
Absolutely.
They're not gonna cock block it.
Yeah.
And nobody's gonna. I mean.
Yeah. Come on.
Look at the people who run the military. Look at
Yeah.
Mark Milley. Mark Milley is a beta cuck.
Is that the trans?
No, he's just a fat white man. He's a general. He runs the army.
But is he pretending? Is he the one that's pretending to be a girl?
No,
Is it that one?
no,
Okay.
no. I'm not sure which one that is, but
Okay.
every single general, everybody at colonel or above in the military at this point is blue, and they've sworn blue, and they've made statements in public regarding their politics, which is illegal, by the way.
Right? Aren't you supposed to be sort of neutral?
You can have an opinion. You can vote any way that you want.
Especially when you get into intelligence, you really have to be neutral.
You can discuss with your friends and family off duty, out of uniform, your politics all day long, so long as you don't bring in your, this. Hey, I work in the military, and this is why I believe this. You're not supposed to say that.
No.
But if you were just sitting there with your friend, you could say, hey, I support this candidate, I support this, I oppose this bill, whatever. You're absolutely not supposed to put on your uniform, go up for an official address in front of your troops, and talk about why the commander-in-chief is evil, and why he's steering the armed forces in the wrong direction, and why you hope he will get deposed, which is basically what every single one of them did. Every single one of them did. And then, tit for tat, Donald Trump fired like a ridiculous number of commanders, like thousands of commanders were fired under Trump. Basically, more commanders were fired under Trump from 2016 to 2020 than had ever been fired ever in the history of the military. Ever. Yeah, the first round.
Yeah.
He fired a bunch of them.
Yeah.
A bunch of them. I mean, just firing them left and right. But you got to understand how completely corrupt they are. I mean, they basically get a credit card with like millions of dollars on it.
Mm-hmm.
Not literally, figuratively. And they just spend it on whatever they want. They tell their troops whatever they want. They kind of run their organizations basically however they want.
Right.
Within a certain purview. And they're all anti-Trump. They're all anti-red, pro-blue.
Right.
And they have specific... They don't even hide it. They don't even pretend. They don't even make it an informal program. They'll straight up put out a docket and they say, "Hey, here's the program. We're getting rid of white conservatives in chokehold positions, like I don't know, pilots, equipment operators. We're talking like these highly specialized individuals who have significant control. Like if they didn't show up for work one day, it would be a big deal. We're going to try to phase them out and phase in women of color who are liberal and immigrants."
Can I say this one thing? So I don't know if I said this in a previous pod, but I picked up like 4 chicks that were in the army or whatever at some point. And anyways.
And they were a bunch of useless cows.
And I was basically like, oh shit, I'm so sorry. You guys are about to go to war with Russia.
They're not going. They're getting pregnant with Russia.
Yeah, I mean, like,
they're not going to war.
and the girl up front sitting next to me, she was like, yeah, she understood. But all the other girls in the military, they're like, what?
Right.
And the girl up front was like, yeah, I'm going next week or whatever. And all the other girls are in the fucking military, you know, just playing like Call of Duty shit with drones, you know.
Right.
And they were just like surprised to hear that they're going, you know.
You would be astounded at the echo chamber that they keep them in. They basically tell them, hey, don't listen to the news. You know, we'll tell you the news.
Right.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a bubble. And I mean, no matter. I mean, there's a huge
Is that
divide.
why they're recruiting women though? I mean,
I think they're recruiting women because women don't say no with the same rate that men say no. I genuinely believe that is why.
and there's more things to say no to.
Well, remember I mentioned earlier that it's right there in the code of conduct. You have a responsibility as an enlisted member of the armed services. It is your lawful responsibility to refuse an illegal order and to carry out, to the best of your ability, every legal order. It's not in their interest to have a bunch of people in there who are smart enough to be able to say, this order is illegal. It's very much so in their interest to have a bunch of idiots who they can gaslight into doing whatever. And they, I don't know if you're familiar with the Abu Ghraib situation back there in the early 2000s, but all those horrific, just like skin blanching acts of torture were generally carried out under the direction of a woman. It was a woman running it at the behest of her male commander, of course.
Oh, okay.
And she was running the torture. She was the one doing all these things. She was the one taking pictures with these naked prisoners of war who she was torturing day in and day out. And then when they finally came in there and cleared house, the commander got a little slap on the wrist, gave him that, and then she went to McFucking jail.
Oh, shit.
I guarantee you she did not think it was in the cards that she was going to go to jail. I guarantee you she thought the commander... I guarantee you he told her it was going to be all right.
Yeah, the best interest in
He
mind.
said, look, you know, it's not illegal. It would be illegal under most circumstances, but this is a black site. We have orders to extract the information. They gave us, because remember the Bush administration, I can't remember what terminology they used for it, enhanced interrogation technique?
Yeah, the water...
They passed a bill that basically said, because remember they asked, I think it was Cheney.
Waterboarding? It doesn't look that bad.
It doesn't look that bad. That's what they like. It doesn't look that bad. It is truly awful. It basically is like drowning, but worse than drowning.
Yeah, and the Sicario movie, whenever the waterboarding happens, it's like seems so dramatic or whatever.
Right.
Like Johan Johnson music playing in the background.
Right. They had to beef up the score because if you just looked at it, it just kind of looks like you're getting water poured on your face. But.
Right. Yeah. Which looks like enjoyable.
And the same with like force feeding. Some people are like, oh, force feeding. You know, how bad could that be? I eat every day. You know, it's like, well, you don't eat like this.
Oh shit.
Actually, the rapper Common, I don't know if it's still on the internet or still can be found. He did a force feeding video. He volunteered to be force fed. He had people trained to force feed. They strapped him to a chair and they force fed him because he was illustrating how bad the situation in Guantanamo is, how bad the stuff in Abu Ghraib is, because people just don't understand, or they don't want to understand, or they're just not interested in it. And he did the whole video, and like they basically grab your head and they pull it back and they force your jaw open, and they're shoveling food in there and they're moving your jaw. And failing that, they would just stuff a potato up your asshole and let you digest a potato with your asshole. So,
I didn't know you could do that.
Well, who would know? What normal person would know, right? Who would figure that out?
Yeah.
The United States government would figure that out.
Yeah.
With the help of General Mark Milley. So, there you go.
Yeah, we're definitely going to survive the next couple of weeks after this.
Well, I mean, if you're purely worried, because they're always whipping up this scare about Russia and China. Oh, these people are animals. They don't play by the same rules you and I do. You know, if it came to war, you wouldn't want to get captured by these guys. You want to hang out over here with us. Okay, we're the voice of civility. I mean, these guys are a little scary. You know what I mean? It's like, you are scary. You are fucking terrifying. And you're right here. You know what I mean? You are right here. You know, so they're always playing down like, oh, you know, we have a gentler approach. You know, we're a little bit more refined. It's like, are you?
We have good intentions.
Are
We're,
you? Right,
we're
right.
smuggling Bibles.
Yeah, we smuggle Bibles.
Yeah.
They smuggle, I don't know, rice patties. I don't know what the fuck they read. You know.
Yeah.
We speak English.
Yeah.
Do they speak English? Actually, they do. English is spoken in like almost every country in the world. It's like broken English.
Yeah.
It's like, you really want to hang out with us, you know, because we're the good guys. You know?
Yeah. I picked up like a group of women that were meeting up for like a high school reunion or something, but they were all like daughters of military people during like the Berlin situation or whatever with Russia, and so they were meeting up or whatever, and they were just talking about how, you know, their intentions were wonderful, and they were like smuggling Bibles to resolve the conflict between Germany and Russia, right? Berlin, right? Was that Germany?
Yeah, they split it between East Germany and West Germany. I think Russia was occupying the west side. The Allies had the east side.
Right. Yeah. So these wonderful, you know what I mean, children of the military, you know, smuggling Bibles and stuff, which is cool, and you know, but it's definitely a PR thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Always. Well, and I think we talked last time about how if you beat an opposing military force, you have to assume their debt. You take on the debt. But another thing that you have to do, basically, I mean, you basically have to feed and house and medically treat any civilians who end up on your side of the war zone. If I see the city block and there's a bunch of destitute civilians there and they're just hanging out, I basically am compelled to like give them a tent, give them a cot, give them, you know, 3 hot meals, give them medical treatment. You just have to do it. And of course, they always upplay what we're doing, downplay what they're doing. Russia spent, I mean, I have no idea how much they spent, but they fed and housed a bunch of people during the Ukraine crisis. They still are. And it's not like they like deserve points for it. It's just what you have to do. Like, I mean, you would either have to kill them all, or you'd have to drive them somewhere, or you'd have to feed and treat them. Killing them all is going to be more money than it's worth, and they're what you're fighting for, right? They are the ones who are going to make money and pay you taxes when you win. Yeah. So you're not going to kill them all. Plus, the PR would be awful. It makes it too easy for your enemy to galvanize people against you. Driving them away, people don't seem to understand how much time and resources it takes to move human beings. Let's say that you just captured a part of a city and there's 100,000 humans in there. What is the capacity of your truck? I mean, let's say that you can fit 50 humans in your truck for easy number.
You're starting to sound like Dexter.
right. Well, this is the shit that you have to think about. This is modern warfare, right? Let's say you could fit 50 humans in a truck. Let's say you can fit 100 humans. 10 trucks, that's 1,000 humans. Great, you just need 100 more. Yeah. Taken however many miles away the war zone is, and then deposited. You have to, okay, we took them here, we put them here. You have to put them in the hands of somebody who will give you an affidavit of receipt. Like, you can't just put them in the wild. That wouldn't accomplish anything. If you're going to take them away, you have to give them to someone, and they say, yes, I acknowledge, I got these humans, we're going to watch them, you know. So it's basically impractical, and the military that's being conquered knows this. The Ukrainians, here's another controversial thing, Ukrainians were basically like gaslighting their citizens into thinking that the situation was not that bad. They're saying, hey, hold on, it's all good, just hold on, because they want them there. You want those civilians there, because it's just going to slow down the enemy forces. If all the civilians evacuate, it would be actually much easier. But they know that it's going to slow them down. Whatever they do with them, it's going to slow them down and cost them resources. So.
Oh, okay. So let's help out our boy Putin and just run a psyop in Ukraine.
Just telling them to run away. Like, hey, instead of getting captured by the Russians and living in a camp for what has it been 2-3 years at this point?
Yeah.
I don't know how. I mean, hypothetically, there are Ukrainians who have been living in a Russian camp for like 3 years at this point.
Right.
Just doing who knows what, folding laundry. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know why I feel the need to say this, but I am not a Putin sympathist. But I do have a flaw with being extremely gullible, considering I was raised in the charismatic evangelical movement. And so there's this like weird prophecy thing in my dad's algorithm. And anyways, he sent me a couple of videos. Apparently there's like a prophecy that Russia one day is going to be sort of a safe haven for Christians at some point, like running away from, like, you know what I mean, where we are in, you know, our own country right now, and the way things are looking with you know, treating Christians and stuff like that.
You know, I've never heard about that, but I will say that they are a Christian nation, and they have it actually written into their constitution, and they haven't taken as many steps to chip away at it like we have. So I will say of this three superpowers, USA, Russia, China, China is absolutely not Christian. They've taken more steps than ever to crack down on Christianity and Islam. They don't really like religion. They don't even like their traditional religion. From what I can gather, they prefer the secular approach. The secular approach just fits in better with what they do, and that's just what they do. The USA is obviously God's country, right? There's no question that it was founded to be God's country. Like, that's explicitly what they were trying to do. They didn't bullshit about it. They were like, hey, you know, anyone can come here, but this is Christian land for Christians.
I hope so.
You know, well, I mean, they were all Christians. The Spaniards, the
Yeah.
English, the French, the
Yeah.
Germans, they were all specifically Christian, right? So some internet warrior, actually, there was an explorer, he was a cartographer, and he was actually Buddhist. Like, no,
Yeah.
they were Christian military
Or
forces.
the Freemason.
I don't know
stuff,
much
and
about the
no-
Freemasons, but I
Yeah.
know that they consider themselves vaguely Christian.
Right.
I don't really understand it. I'm not even going to pretend to understand it. But the USA has obviously stepped away big time from that. They don't pray in schools. They don't pray at sporting events. I mean, you have basically more protections for your sexuality than for your religion at this point. Like, not on paper, but in practice, you really basically do. So the USA, not a Christian country. China, not a Christian country. Russia, sort of a Christian country.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny how that works. The ultimate big bad guys, the terrifying big bad white guys over there.
It is my plan F.
Your plan F.
My plan F is to, run to Russia.
Go ahead and learn Russian.
Yeah.
Let's talk like this. Bulyat.
Buryat.
Suka bulyat.
Buryat.
Can I
Yeah.
have 500 rubles?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think I would be more excited about going to Russia if the Russian girls smiled a little bit more. But, yeah, they do seem like a little stoic.
Let me ask you this: Why do you need to see women smile?
I
What
don't
is
know,
it
it's
about
just
seeing
beautiful.
women smile?
It's just beautiful.
Okay.
It's a worthy reason of going to a whole different country. You know.
Well,
It's
I
a
mean, I will say it seems really goddamn cold over there, and I'm just not really down with that.
Really, the
And,
whole part of Russia?
That's right. I don't know. I mean, every picture I see of Russia, it looks really cold and really dirty over there. And they always show those flats, and they just look hideous. And they have all those videos on YouTube with people like, "Hello, my name is Sergey. I live in city of Donetsk or some city. I live in Russia. It is how I say." It is hell. They have him over there.
Yeah.
He's like, I
You
know.
gotta love the honesty, though. I mean, is that autism or like, is autism a psyop here in the West to get us away from being honest with ourselves?
I feel like before they had the word autism or retardation, I mean, I think there were probably still people that would fit that bill, and they would just call them simpletons. I mean, they used to call them savants or simpletons or real. Hey, he's real odd. He's got his peculiar hobbies, but there's no question there's more of it now, which I think they could cure. That's another controversial statement. I think many of the people who have autism now have symptoms of autism caused by third-party factors, and I think that it's entirely likely that they could greatly reduce their symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
If not eliminate entirely, they could reduce those symptoms.
Speaking of, did you notice a theme at the party at on Saturday night at Matt's place?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Should we talk about that?
I don't know, because now I'm just... I'm just wondering why I was there. You know?
Why was I there too? Yeah, you were there in support of me.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
because you're actually a compassionate person. That's
Well, I didn't know it was going to
Yeah.
be such a big show out, which I mean was cool.
yeah,
But yeah, I didn't know it was going to be a turnout like that. So.
yeah.
Yeah, it was jumping more or less.
Yeah, I was really vibing with your guitar playing.
Oh, I appreciate it, brother. Yeah, we were jamming out. We were really jamming the hell out.
Yeah.
You sounded good on them drums.
Thank you. I feel like I was just doing the same beat for every different act.
I mean, how many different beats are there?
Right.
You listen to a lot of big songs and they're just the same beat.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I had a South American music instructor once. He was teaching class on musical arrangement. And he's like, what is your most favorite, what is your song with the most favorite drums? Let me hear your most favorite drums. I was like, all right, let me put on this song. I just love the drums on here. And I put on Who Bestank the Reason. And he was like, ah, ha, 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 ha. It's so simple. It's so simple. He played the same thing, you know. And I thought about it. I was like, wow, yeah, I guess compared to like South American, like Latin music, like the beats here are really simple now that you mention it. They're like extremely simple. It's going like, psh, psh. Yeah. And then even simpler if it's
threes,
hip hop.
right?
Yeah. I mean, basically, like hip hop is just. There's not a lot changed up. Like, there's this funny ass video. I'm so glad that trap is falling out. I don't give a fuck. I'm just so glad that people are finally listening to something besides hip hop. This rapper in the studio.
You could thank P. Diddy. It seems like
I
that's
don't
why
think he had much.
there's a falling
it
out.
was already
full
falling
circle
out.
back to
the biggest songs in 2022 and 2023 were all acoustic. The top 40 were all acoustic. That overproduced Ableton FL Studio sound was already falling out, which is probably why they just went ahead and X'd him while they did. And within a few years, there'll be someone else takes the place. Maybe this time he'll be Latin.
Yeah.
You know.
Have you been
have
to
a little Latin improvement?
Yeah, maybe. Hopefully. Mars Volta at a wedding. When was? Have you been to a wedding ever since this P. Diddy thing came out? No. Okay.
No,
I am sort of curious what the playlist is now. Now that we can't listen to P. Diddy music.
I think people are still gonna listen to P. Diddy. I don't think they care that much. I mean, he stole all those songs anyway.
Yeah.
All those songs were stolen. It's not like they came from his heart or something. He just stole those songs from someone else and put them out. And if they complained too much, he just killed them. So.
Yeah. Speaking of racism, I do have to confess something. Yeah. I mean, we touched on Asians versus blacks last Monday.
Yeah.
And immediately after, I picked up beautiful, wonderful a group of Asian people.
Wow.
And they were super present and super wonderful and super smart and like all those things. So I feel pretty guilty for. I don't know.
Why? I thought you were saying that it was you said it was black people that didn't like Asians.
I don't know. Just feel the need to bring that up, I guess.
Isn't it funny how being nice is basically the greatest defense from death you could ever have?
Oh, from
just being
someone that's violent?
From anybody, just being a generally nice and well-dressed person who speaks in a polite manner and doesn't get directly confrontational with anyone is basically the cheat code to not getting killed or pogromed.
I never thought about that until you told me that. I mean, but yeah, I guess it is sort of a diffusing mechanism.
It's like I was having racist thoughts about Asians, but then I picked them up in the car, and for the 20 minutes I drove them, they were really polite and really nice. And I don't support anti-Asian pogroms anymore. But if they were a bunch of jerks, you'd have been confirmed. Oh, bastards! God,
hacking my phone.
He's just on his phone. What are you looking at on your phone? You
my
little
Facebook.
twerp? You giving me a bad review? You giving me a 1-star review?
Yeah. I think I did try to like steer the conversation in towards social credit score or whatever. And, yeah.
Well, were they even from China, or were they from a completely different? Isn't Asia bigger than basically the rest of the world combined? Like,
I mean, I've learned to not ask that question because they seem to get offended when I ask them where they're from. But life lessons, baby.
I don't understand how you get offended about being asked where you're from.
Yeah.
I mean, you think we're stupid? You know, like, do I look like an idiot to you? You know, if you're not from the United States, I'm gonna be able to tell like instantly. How? Because I've lived here my entire life. You know. I mean, I meet white people that are clearly not from the United States too. And actually, there was a guy at that party. He was like Irish, or no, he was Scottish. And I asked him where he was from. I was like, man, that's an interesting accent. Where are you from? And he like went on this whole thing. He like bullshitted me along, said he was from Kentucky, and he had a towny hill country accent.
They do that, yeah.
And I was like, really, from Kentucky? And it went on for like a long, long time. And it went on for like 20, 30 minutes, and we were having like multiple conversations. I eventually just moved past it, and somebody was like, oh yeah, I'm from Kentucky. I was like, this guy's from Kentucky. And he's like, no, mate, I'm Scottish. And I was like, why did you tell me you're from Kentucky? He said, I don't know. I didn't think it would be such a big thing. Like, just say you're from fucking Scotland. I don't give a shit. I really don't care. You know? But I could tell he was not. Even though he's lived here for like 20 years, obviously the dude did not grow up in this oppressive prison society. You can just tell instantly. So.
Yeah. It is fun, now that you mention it. I do recall a lot of Asians, after I asked them where they're from, before I learned my lesson, they all say they're from like Minnesota or something first.
Some bullshit.
Right, yeah.
Like, yeah, you're not from Minnesota.
Right.
But okay.
But it's some country or state close to the Canadian border.
Well, I suppose they do it. I mean, what they've explained to me is they do it because they're trying to conform and be respectful, and they don't think it's very appreciative of their efforts if you just like immediately point out that you're not, they clearly are not like from here. Not that it matters. Like, it really doesn't matter. Like, I also have American friends who were born with American citizenship, but they grew up in another country, and they're pretty different too. And people ask them like, "Are you from here?" And they're like, "Yeah, I was born in America, an American military base in Germany." But yeah, I mean, technically, you're born in America. If you're born on an American military base, that's America. So.
I didn't know that. So back when I was a social worker, I got punished for just saying wild shit as I do.
Sure.
And so they assigned me a lesson thing that I had to do on the computer, which I failed miserably like 14 times. Because like...
How not to be racist.
Yeah, basically. And they were specifically like talking about Asians and like how they sort of model respect for one another, and like one of the questions was, you know what I mean, like, how do you respect an Asian? Do you make eye contact, or do you deny yourself looking at them in their eye, or something like that? And I was like, what the fuck? So like I was just answering how I would interact with an Asian, which would be look at the person in their eye.
Well, see, that's why we were.
But apparently, like, there's a whole different way of respecting one another in the Asian culture that I had no idea about.
Well, I'm gonna fire off something here. I don't think they respect each other very much at all.
No, there wouldn't be a social credit score if that was the case.
Yeah, and I don't think that they are. I don't think that they're very compassionate people. If I'm gonna keep it a buck, I think that even with as savage and as wild as the Englishman is, I think generally they have more respect and compassion for human beings than Asian or Eastern societies, including Russia. Right, Russia is in Asia. Russia is technically an Asian nation, but they don't say that because it's white.
Yeah, I forget that.
But here's the other thing too: is like I don't care. Like when I would look up how to respect an Asian person is when I would be going to Asia. When I'm in their home, I'm gonna try to respect them the way they want to be respected. When you're here, I'm gonna treat you like everybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm gonna look you right in the eye. And if you're shifting and looking around and you're trying not to make eye contact, guess what, buddy? That means that you're shady as hell, because that's shady behavior.
Right, absolutely.
You don't obscure your face here in America. You don't hide your eyes. You don't wear cheaters. I mean, you can if it's sunny, right? But generally, like if you're having polite conversation, you hit the shade. You lift them up, right? Because we look people in the eye here. That's how we do. So I'm just not remotely interested in like, oh, would it disrespect an Asian person for me to look in their eyes? Like, get a soul. If you have a soul in your chest, then you won't feel disrespected because we'll be looking soul to soul, won't we?
Yeah. And yeah, we both have blue eyes, and we go through the struggle of being blinded by the sun. You know what I mean? But we sacrifice our pain for other people by not wearing sunglasses.
I usually wear sunglasses.
Yeah.
I often wear sunglasses even at night just because of the ridiculously bright beams that people have in modern cars. Just blind the shit out of you.
Oh yeah. So speaking of LED lights. Yeah, when did that law pass that like basically we can't have the original light bulb? And when did we make the transition?
You know,
And why did that happen, Nick?
that's one of those Mandela effect things, and I haven't really been able to look into it too much. It happened, I think, less than 10 years ago. There was a story which I can no longer find about a guy in Canada, and he knew basically that the new light bulbs would not be good for you, and he stockpiled like 100,000 sodium bulbs for his home and for his personal use. But they basically just like kind of decided one day, hey, we don't want to use these. We want to use these other type of light bulbs, and they're everywhere, just absolutely everywhere, and they're so awful.
What was the sales pitch? I mean, it's gonna like require less
Cheaper.
energy.
Cheaper, last longer,
Okay.
less energy, more illumination. On paper, they make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Especially if you're lighting a street. You know, you don't want to be constantly sending a contractor out there to change the lights. You don't want it to be dim. Studies show that the more illuminated a street is, the less crime there is on that street. So you drive down the street, there's not much illumination.
Is that why we put up the moon tower on South First? Yeah.
I'm not familiar with the moon tower.
Oh yeah, they just installed another moon tower on South First.
What is a moon tower?
It's just like a really tall tower that basically illuminates the street.
Interesting.
Yeah, because like here in Austin, I mean, I don't know when this happened, but yeah, light pollution was a thing a bit, like in the 1990s. So they were like really worried about.
It's worse now, but
yeah,
they just don't talk about it.
I mean, driving home in South Austin, like it's really difficult to actually see, like whether or not you're actually in the lane.
Yeah.
Especially with these fucking
The paint is
transformer
faded,
beams coming off of these cars and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're cheap too. They're very cheap in Austin because a lot of cities will put up like reflective paint, or they'll put up strips that are reflective, and they'll have them everywhere. And like in Florida, for instance, they spend a lot of money on their roads, and you will never have to guess where you are because everything is hyper illuminated and reflective. But in Austin, I don't know. They don't really believe in that. They don't really believe in repairing the road. They believe in massive potholes and even bigger speed bumps, which destroy your car's suspension.
Yeah, fuck these speed bumps.
Ridiculously huge speed bumps. And like a 25 mile per hour zone, they've got a massive speed bump.
Yeah,
You
dude.
basically have to slow to 15, and it's like, boom, 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 boom. Like, damn, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But again, it's all about the money, and it's all about property values, because Austin is just a bunch of suburban sprawls, basically.
Right.
Suburban sprawls connected by like 3 parks and like 2 streets that have entertainment on them.
What's the opposite of economic justice? Where it's like the wealthy people in Westlake definitely want to keep the poor class or whatever running over speed bumps.
I don't know. I will say that, yeah, if you go out in the hills by the rich houses, they don't have speed bumps. I will say that.
Yeah.
I don't know what the opposite of that is. Opposite of economic justice, I don't know. Reckless indifference. I have no idea.
I picked up this guy, right? All right, so I'm on East Riverside, a little further east from that HEB on the Pleasant Valley Road or whatever.
Yeah.
And you know how like it's just speed bump central, dude. It's fucking chaos, and it's all like you know what I mean. It's the labor class,
Yeah.
the lads.
You don't want them to drive too fast on their way
Right.
to work. You know?
Yeah, if they even have a car.
Right.
But anyways, yeah, it just seems like everybody's suspension is fucked up over there.
Yeah.
But so I pick up this guy, right? And I'm like, dude, there's so many speed bumps in your apartment complex. He's like, yeah, I had them. I called the city on that one. I mean, I got them to install the speed bumps.
Yeah, because they'll do it.
And it was like, oh, did you personally like, you know what I mean, get like hit because someone was driving fast? He's like, no, there's kids that play outside, and I don't want them to get
fucking kids, man. Kids are the excuse to ruin everything.
yeah. So
Everything. No, we can't serve raw sushi here. There's kids. I hate kids, bro. I hate them. You know, they ruin everything.
So I asked him, I'm like, did you personally see a kid get hit by a car? He's like, no, I heard about it. And I was like, oh, when did it happen? He's like, oh, it happened in another state. So like he got the speed bumps installed
Right.
for something that he heard in another state.
Well, and that's
So
the
we
issue again with the American government. They're so willing to install, let's just say, a metaphorical speed bump of any sort. They're so willing to install safety devices, knowing full well that it slows things down.
Mm-hmm.
Very reticent to remove them.
Yeah.
But they'll take any excuse to put them in.
Mm-hmm.
But no matter number of excuses you have to take them out. Like, nah, why take them out? You know, we kind of like that they're there. So, and that's, again, this whole thing about people seeking safety. It's like, well, I just want to be safe. I've heard that it's safer in another country. Like, you don't have a right to be safe. You just don't. Like, wherever, ever in the world do you think that you have a right to be safe? Like, if we lived in the wilderness, do you think you would be safe?
No.
You know what I mean? Do you think you would be safe living next to a 5G tower? Do you think you're safe working in a nuclear power plant? Do you think you're safe being on the police force or being a paramedic?
Yeah.
You know, you're not gonna be safe. It's an illusion that they sell. Oh, we can make it safer. How? How can you possibly make it safer?
Mm-hmm.
If I want to run over a kid, I will run that kid over. And there's no speed bump that you can install that would prevent half these trucks that people drive just blast over a whole curb like it's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see them with the F-250 and they ran out of parking spots, so they just blast over the curb, blast over the median, park right there. You can't stop these cars. You can stop a bike, and that's probably the real thing there is the motorcyclists.
Yeah.
Which I'm surprised that somehow they haven't gotten around to regulating that motorcyclists should be wearing a helmet. Surprisingly, they don't have to wear a helmet. But
in Missouri, I had to. Speaking of those like strips that they put on the reflective strips.
Yeah.
I dropped my Kawasaki KZ twice on Halloween night, and it had nothing to do with the fact that I was drinking. But
we will bleep that. I think.
But yeah, I crashed my motorcycle twice on Halloween night.
Okay.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was because the strips were slippery, and it wasn't because I came from a party.
Maybe that's why they don't want to put them in. Maybe they're too slippery.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not that it rains in Texas very much.
Yeah.
It's hilarious too that Texans are so bad at everything. They're so bad at everything. So bad at building. I mean, in the entire history of this state, they've built like maybe 5 structures worth of goddamn, and the rest of them are just trash that they plan to knock down within 30 years. Mm-hmm. They just don't build good things. They don't have good taste for building things. They don't have vision. They don't have principle. They just build garbage, knock it down, put in some more garbage.
Yeah, this bullshit, like German architecture, minimalist, corrugated tin shit.
I like tin, honestly. Tin roofs are way better than
tin roofs, yeah, but like for siding?
Yeah,
I'll
I guess
die on
it
this
can look
hill,
a little
man.
trashy.
Yeah.
It can look a little trashy.
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from with that.
Yeah.
But they just build garbage, and it's hilarious because it doesn't rain much in Texas, certainly not here. But they just have no idea how to build structures that can handle the rain. Every time it rains, a street floods and like does real damage to the street, and you can see exactly where the streets get damaged from the rain. It's like, you're supposed to build it so that the rain runs off the street, you morons. You're so stupid.
Yeah.
The apartment complex I live in, they built some like underground drainage facility in 1980s, and obviously if you're going to build anything underground, there's no point building unless it's going to last 100 years. Shit didn't even last 30. I mean, it's how do you build something so bad? How do you do so bad at everything? How is everything you do an epic fail? Let's think about it seriously, and that's what I tell people because tourists come to Austin. Like, oh, I love this city. It's so I'm really enjoying my vacation. I'm like, well, what are you enjoying?
Right.
Well, I've just been around seeing the city. What did you see?
Yeah.
There are no structures worth seeing in Austin. None. They have that old ass hotel which is haunted. It's kind of cool. I've seen more impressive hotels in like a mountainside town with 500 people living in them. They just don't build a damn thing worth seeing.
Yeah. It's because everybody that's lived here longer than 5 years is depressed.
Right.
So whenever they meet like a tourist, they're just like, yes, somebody that smiles.
Right.
And so like,
you're enjoying it here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's just,
what part?
Yeah.
Because I always tell them the parks. They're like, well, what do you like about living here? I say the parks.
Yeah.
I like the parks.
Right.
The music scene is decent. I'm close enough. I don't, need to be out every single night. You know what I mean? But I have genuinely no idea why you would come here as a tourist. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what you're possibly seeing. You go to New York, Manhattan. I mean, they have hundreds of structures that are ancient, ancient structures. They look cool as shit. They're gothic as hell. At one point, they were trying to transform New York City into Rome 2.0. Did you ever see about that?
No, I haven't.
They had a whole plan to like transform New York City into like a gothic Roman.
That would be awesome.
The designs were badass. They did a few of the buildings. They're still up, still intact.
You can't beat stone, man.
No.
Yeah.
No. Chicago with the brick buildings.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago has a bunch of shit worth seeing. Massive zoos, massive museums, huge structures, spirals.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They have spiral loops on the roads. They're dangerous as shit, but it's badass.
Yeah.
So many badass things in so many cities. And Austin, none.
Right.
None.
Yeah, there's like this psyop on trying to make the Dark Ages seem terrible. I mean, it's in the name, right? Dark.
Yeah.
But yet, like, so much beautiful architecture came out of the Dark Ages.
True.
And ultimately, like, our cities are built on top of, you know, what the Dark Ages innovated,
Yeah.
right? You know?
Well, at least Manhattan is.
Yeah.
Manhattan is built on a whole other city that was beneath it, which surprisingly many people like don't know. It's like, yeah, there's like a whole other city on there.
Mm-hmm.
They just like
Right.
built tunnels and built over it.
Yeah.
But you could like spend years like there's tunnels in New York that like people don't even know what's in there. Like maybe the crackheads
Ninja Turtles.
know. Yeah,
Yeah.
the Ninja Turtles are in there for sure.
Yeah.
The Morlocks are in there.
Yeah. But like
Yeah.
San Antonio, I mean, it's built around, you know, yeah, it's beautiful. The Alamo.
But yeah, now in Austin, they're obsessed with building the 5/1s, which, spoiler alert, anyone could have guessed. A 5/1 is basically, it's the most economical structure you could build for insurance purposes, regulation purposes, building something that's affordable. It's going to be a 5/1. A 5/1 is concrete foundation, steel for one floor, right? That's the one, the over one. And then you have timber framing for 5 stories above it. That's the 5. 5 timber shit boxes over one piece of steel and a concrete foundation. And I mean, the ones that they built 15 years ago are just about ready to fall over and just die. And they're still just shitting them out everywhere. Every single street is just overrun with these hideous structures. They're just hideous.
And they're putting insulation on the outside, and they're just like painting over it.
Are they?
Yeah, and there's this new like foam insulation. I know
spray
this
foam.
is fascinating, but
Actually, to me, it is. Huh?
yeah, I mean, they're using this like really cheap material, but they're basically using the insulation as the siding for the exterior of the home,
Yeah.
which is, you know what I mean, not going to last well.
Well, it's funny because in Europe, you cannot insure a structure that has spray foam insulation in it.
Why not?
Because, so I looked into it because I want to get it because it does keep your house very cool.
Fuck yeah, dude.
But it has a ton of downsides. One,
Oh, the moisture.
the fumes.
Yeah.
Fumes, number 1.
Yeah.
Hella toxic fumes. Moisture, number 2. If it makes it through the siding and onto the spray foam, it's just going to stay there forever. And this is going to be fumes and water and fumes.
Well, that's why you like have pores or whatever.
Yeah, if you do it perfectly, it
Yeah.
should be okay, but they are not going to do it perfectly. They're going to hire Jose from Guatemala, and he's
Right.
going to fuck that shit up.
Yeah.
Bad, not in a good way. And then lastly, and perhaps most importantly, since you're building with the cheapest lumber you can get, and you're building with the cheapest cement blocks that you can get, you know, the drywall.
Which doesn't come from America anymore, by the way.
Of course not.
Yeah.
No, never would.
Yeah.
And it expands.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not set correctly, it will expand, and it can warp the entire frame of your house. It can push your ceiling off the roof of your house.
Yeah.
It can push the beams out until they crack. It can just really, really fuck shit up. And again, there's alternatives. There are, why am I? There is a type of insulation you can get which offers basically the same properties, and it's just bat insulation, and it's reusable until the end of time. And it's just as good, but significantly more stable and more sturdy. But of course, it costs a little bit more.
Right.
And they ain't gonna do that.
Mm-hmm.
But for that matter, you can also treat the wood. I mean, because there's so much termite damage in like every structure in Austin. Austin is terrible with termite damage. You can treat wood chemically so that like a termite will never get in there. It will never warp. It will never rot. Like it's waterproof.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally good to go. Like it makes it basically way better than wood. They don't do it. And in fact, you can barely buy it at Home Depot. You ask them about it at Home Depot, they're like, oh, I don't know what that is. Call corporate, hey, do you have this? Oh, no, we really haven't carried that since 1979. But they still make it, but it's a whole thing. They just not doing it. At every chance they get, they cut every corner they possibly can, and then they mark it up 300-400%. I mean, it's insane how much money they make. 'Cause it might be a couple $100 million to buy the business that's on it, demolish it, redo the structure, build the 5/1. But then they're renting it out for like 400 times more than they would need to make a price, a profit. So
Is this why insurance companies are failing?
insurance
like,
companies are failing because insurance is a scam that doesn't make sense. I mean, think about a business like this.
In order to rebuild your house, I mean, you're basically paying for an entirely new house. You know, picked up this lady.
Well, they're not gonna rebuild your house.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying the price tag of, you know what I mean, buying materials for fixing your house is super expensive right now.
Right.
You know, from like what we talked about.
But the reason that it's failing is simply that in order for them to make a profit, let's say they have 5 customers. Let's say that one customer's house is destroyed. So now you only really have 4 customers, right? Because you've got to give him more than what he paid. So you got to take the money out of what they paid to fix his house. Let's say that those 5 customers were on the same street and I burned their houses down. They don't make any money. They have to have more customers paying for a service that they don't need in order to be able to pay out for a customer that does need their services. That's why insurance, again, this whole concept of safety. Oh, we got to have a safety net. We got to have a fallback.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Right.
It's not possible. It's like the argument that, well, you know, people don't need to work, which I actually kind of agree with. I don't necessarily think humans were born to work. I mean, humans were born to just be animals that walk around, as far as I can tell. But the issue with trying to subsidize a human's lifestyle in a house and having a car and eating food and going out and doing things that you would normally expect an American to do is that for every person that does that, you would have to have at least 2 people that don't do that, right? And that's why the whole West is a house of cards, right? I mean, the only reason that we have affordable clothes is because slaves make the clothes. If we had to pay an American to make these clothes,
which is not good, by the way.
No, it's not. But if we were actually paying a tailor to make our clothes, like they did in like the 1850s or whatever, you would just go back to how it was back then. You would have like 3 pairs of clothes. You'd have like a work clothes, you have recreation, and then you would have like a special event, and that would be it. Those are your duds, and you don't have more duds because your salary just does not support it. You know what I mean? So it's just a house of cards, and they make it a law that you have to have it. You have to get insurance. It's a huge scam. It's basically robbery, and it's not going to work. It just will not work.
Yeah, speaking of corporate insurance agencies, I picked up this lady, and she works for the one company that provides insurance for homes on the coast. So they made it a law that somebody has to actually provide insurance for all these houses, Galveston, Corpus Christi, because of all the hurricanes and stuff. Because they're just spending like a crazy amount of money, like every other year, fixing up their home and stuff like that. So I'm picking her up, and she's crying, right? And so like I'm like, what's going on? And I like overheard like a little bit of the conversation that she was having with somebody when they were waiting for me to pick her up. And she's like, yeah, my boss, we're having a Christmas party, and then my boss just raw dogged the conversation about how, you know what I mean, there's going to be downsizing, and the insurance world's not doing well. And so, anyways, yeah, like she was, you know, felt like, you know, she's out of a job.
But yeah, she probably is. I mean, like, as we just outlined, it's all a scam. There's no way it all holds up. I mean, if houses started to get bombed for real, or if all these old shitty houses because at a certain point they're just going to dilapidate because the government charges taxes on them as if they're theirs, right? But the government does not have the capacity to maintain these houses. The government is a shockingly incompetent and just clueless organization. They can put their hands in everything. They have like infinite reach, but they have 0 grip. It's just how it is.
I like that.
I wish it wasn't so, but it is so. I mean, if they owned this house, I don't think it would be in any better condition. Not dunking on your house.
No.
I'm just saying all these houses could use work. You know, there's somebody
Let's just
who has
say
a passion for
my
renovation.
rent's pretty low.
Right, which is good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe we don't need houses that are super good. Maybe we need more busted houses. But they make a busted house and they charge just as much as for a good house. So, what is the difference? But, yeah, I'm losing my train of thought here. But, yeah, the government infinite reach, zero grip. They don't have what it takes to maintain these houses. They count on people buying these houses when they're foreclosed or when they're condemned. They count on a businessman coming in, buying the house, sourcing the labor, sourcing the materials, renovating the house, and then putting it back on the market. Like they don't talk about it. They act like they don't need it, but that's their only plan. That's how things work. Yeah. It goes bad, somebody fixes it, he makes a little bit of money, and then somebody gets to live in the house again. By the way, they really don't make that much money. And if you wanted to start to fix like serious things, you would make no money.
Yeah.
Like, so all these guys I know that are flipping it, they tear down, or the previous tenants have destroyed the sheetrock. There's no cladding on the walls. It's just timber frames. The timber frames are ate to shit. They're moldy. They're crumbling. They're splintering. Do you think they're going to replace them? Do you think they're going to coat them with a chemical? No. They're just going to put the sheetrock back up, and then they're going to sell it. And guess what? The home inspector has no ability to inspect something they can't see. They can't cut a hole in your wall and look at your timber. They're just not allowed. So, you know, you buy a newly renovated house. It looks real nice on the outside, but on the inside, it's just as rotten and decayed as it ever was. Yeah. You know? And this is why it's all a house of cards. And this is an argument for, like, hey, should we be building our houses out of materials that can just, like, be eaten away by insects? Or should we maybe build them out of something that's, like, a little bit more resilient? I mean, what if, and I know this is insane, what if the houses were made of stone? Yeah. You know, because stone is basically waterproof. It's insect proof.
It's wolf proof.
It's wolf proof. Yeah, you wouldn't hear a barking ass dog inside. And you know, in some cases, those old brick homes have been hit by a hurricane and they didn't knock down.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe the insurance company wouldn't have to pay out so much. So at the end of the day, it's not just Texas. Texas is probably the worst. One of the worst I've ever seen about it. One of the ugliest states I've ever seen. But it's just the U.S. in general. The U.S. just doesn't value. The U.S. values money, and money is valueless.
And we can thank the new Unabomber guy that killed the insurance CEO.
Well, I mean, and again, it's one of those things that I don't want to kick somebody when they're down, and he could have been a cool guy, but I mean, what do you think will happen if you continue to dick people over and you continue to just make everything suck and you continue to just rob value from everyone and make everything you do worthless? What do you think people are going to eventually do?
Right. Like,
we're doing okay. There's other guys that are not doing okay. These guys haven't had pussy since '89. They make $12,500 a year. They have no education. They can barely read and write. But you know what they can do? They can buy a gun with the serial number traced off, and they can go fucking shoot somebody. What do you think they're going to do?
Yeah.
I have a sneaking suspicion there will be more of them. But that's just me.
Yeah, so full circle to wrap this up. CNN says we don't know what the motive is.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
The motive is totally can't be guessed.
Yeah, we have no idea.
We don't know.
I wonder why this guy was killed.
Maybe it was accidental.
Yeah.
Maybe he was trying to shoot an immigrant behind the guy, and he missed and hit the CEO instead.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe he's just an incompetent white supremacist.
No, he was trying to shoot a trans person right behind him.
Exactly. Yeah. He wanted to shoot a trans person. Mm-hmm. He wanted to make America great again, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. I need to, stop listening to Fox News because...
Just turn off the TV, take it out the wall.
Right.
Yeah, it's all equally bad.
Okay, let's see where we're at.
I think we're at an hour and 13 minutes.
How'd you know, dude?
Oh, yeah, I'm surprisingly good at that.
Dude, it's an hour and 13 minutes and 24 seconds.
All right, let's do an outro real quick.
All right,
everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to another hour of rambling with us here at the Questioning Hour. Again, I'm Max Misdirection with Freak Mode Media. This is the boy,
Andrew Potter.
And so glad that we could catch y'all again, and we're going to do it again next week. So, see you then.
And Nick might be autistic, because I don't know how he guessed what time we were at, but he did it.
I don't know.
Either that or psychic.